Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Sagawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, the code of the samurai, uncover the meaning of Ikigai, or just looking for a little extra gambaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Konnichiwa, minasan. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Samurai Way podcast. And every episode, I promise you, is exciting and will improve your life in many ways. So today I have a special guest with me, Ellie Werner, and she will be sharing her Ikigai and how it came to her and how it works into her life and how she's made many transitions. And so life is full of that. It's organic, it changes. We can never be static because it's always moving. So please help me welcome Ellie Werner. Welcome to the Samurai Way podcast, Ellie. Could you share with the audience a bit about you for those that are not familiar with you?
Of course, it would be my pleasure. And firstly, just a big thank you, Laurie. I am a huge fan of your podcast and the work you're doing to raise awareness around these wonderful Japanese principles. So it's truly an honor to be here. So thank you.
Thank you.
So my introduction to Ikigai has been quite phased. As you can tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. Like a lot of Brits, I left a long time ago. I left back in the early 90s. I've always been interested in working and living abroad, learning about other cultures. I've worked in the Middle East and then in Central Europe, and then for the last 13, 14 years out of Singapore in Asia, and have always had a fascination with Japan, have been fortunate enough to go there for work and also on holiday. And of course, I read the book, probably about 10 years ago. But where I really kind of went up a notch in terms of my appreciation of Ikigai was just 2.5 years ago when my role was made redundant. I was a managing director in cybersecurity in a global bank, and my role was made redundant. And that came off the back of quite a few other life transitions, my elderly mother getting sick, going through the menopause, and of course, COVID, and a lot of big transformations at work as well. And when I was made redundant, I kind of scratched my head and thought, well, what now? I was in my mid-50s. And so, of course, like everyone, I decided to go off and buy a secondhand boat. So I went off sailing around the South Pacific, as you do, classic midlife crisis. But where Ikigai comes in was the naming of the boat. And I said to my husband, there is only one thing that we can call her, and that's Ikigai. And we renamed her. We did the whole renaming ceremony. We put up the decals on the side of the boat. And the reason I did that was because my whole identity, my whole life had been at work around my career in technology and cyber. And suddenly all of that went. And I thought if I named her Finding Ikigai, it would help me be curious while I was at sea what a life of Ikigai might mean outside of corporate. And then when I sold the boat, I moved back on land. I listened to the work of the amazing Mieko Kamiya, who I hadn't come across before. And suddenly that light bulb moment went off and thought, if I can apply these principles to this next life transition, I'm off the boat, I don't have a job, I don't have a home, I don't have a boat. What might that look like in terms of a life of Ikigai can? And she was instrumental in doing a little life audit. What next? And it led me to neuroscience informed coaching. That's what I retrained in for 6 months, intensive training. And I now fold Mieko's 7 principles of Ikigai can into my coaching practice. And just every day, I'm thankful for the work that Mieko Kamiya has done because I don't think she gets much attention out there. And I think she should be applauded and just more visible in her work that she's done. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this to the audience attention about Mieko. And because this is International Women's Month, I would like you to share more about your journey with Mieko and her foundation and why she resonates and why her work resonates with you.
Oh gosh. Well, I first learnt about her. I remember exactly where I was. I had moved off the boat. I was scratching my head about what next. I'd had a very fulfilling and largely enjoyable, stressful career in cybersecurity, and I was walking under Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I listened to Nick Kemp's Ikigai Tribe podcast about the work of Mieko Kamiya. And I remember just stopping in my tracks, looking up at Sydney. It was quite a visceral moment and thinking, this is Ikigai. Like all of those things I'd been kind of looking for on the boat. And there were so many things about living. It's an incredible luxury to live at sea and go off on a boat. I recognize that. But there were some fundamental things that were missing, which kind of led in part to us deciding to move back on land. And for me, a lot of what really resonates is this sense of how you want to just feel on a daily basis. It's not linked to a job or a vocation. It can be, because a lot of my Ikigai can was actually I got that from work, having teams and the connection you get from working in a team of people. But without that job, without that corporate life, for me, her principles just made so much sense because it's not just about you as well. It's this idea that we're part of a system. And I think, especially with, I come from tech, I love AI, I think there are many wonderful things we can do with it. I do think the more we can shine a light on our collectiveness, we are part of a system and our behaviors have an impact on others directly and indirectly. So I really love the fact that she talks about this sense of belonging and being part of something bigger than yourself. It's not just me, me, me. It's what can I do that also has a ripple effect on others around you? And just that small component rather than one big thing. It's certainly from my personal experience with my clients, it just makes it more accessible, doesn't it? I mean, who knows? Do we know
Yes.
what the purpose is? I think a lot of people would struggle to answer that. But if you say, hey,
Yes.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think your life has meaning and value? Yeah, 8. That's pretty easy to answer, isn't it? So I
Mhm.
love that. Yeah, and many other things I love about it as well. Yeah.
And we also talked about how it is organic and how life is organic. And I think that would be an interesting point for the audience to hear from you.
Well, it is, isn't it? And look, we all go through. I used to follow a podcast called Squiggly Careers, which I love. I think we have multiple careers in us. And I love the fact that so many of us are now pivoting into just these crazy. I went from cybersecurity head to liveaboard sailor. Now I'm back and a neuroscience coach. And there are so many people that I surround myself with that are deeply inspiring. Laurie, I listened to your journey, just how we pivot and evolve. And of course, life's not static, and the Greeks had a great saying, "Pantarei," just everything flows. This idea that we can have a plan and we're going to stick to it is ludicrous. I love about the evolving nature, as you said, Laurie, life is not static. And our Ikigai could be different, maybe not from hour to hour, but certainly from maybe month to month. And if we think about what your Ikigai might be one day, it could be more about growth and learning and being optimistic about the future. So for example, I've just moved to Portugal. I've been traveling for 2.5 years as I go through these life transitions. And now I've been here for 4 weeks. My Ikigai at the moment is around getting settled. So it's connecting with people, learning about life in Portugal, building my coaching business. I hope that over time, when I'm more settled here, there'll be other principles of Ikigai that I'll want to tap into, right? So I'll probably want to do more belonging or connectivity, maybe to some something bigger than myself, maybe some philanthropic work or to get out sailing, which I love. So I love this concept using Mieko's principles that it's not the one purpose, which can feel A, really big, B, quite daunting, especially if you're not working. It's like, well, what's your purpose? I was on a boat. I was like, I don't know what my purpose is. I'm just trying to stop us from running the boat aground on a coral reef in the middle of the South Pacific. So your purpose changes, and that's what I love about Ikigai. It's more of a feeling, those small little daily pleasures of, for now it's having coffees with people here in Portugal and getting to learn about the Portuguese culture. So you're absolutely right. It's always evolving. It's not a static thing. And that's quite empowering, right? It's
Mhm.
quite empowering. Yeah.
Mhm. We have been talking about the foundation, and before we get any further, I'd like to hear the foundation that you gleaned from Mieko.
Yeah, so you mean in terms of the foundations of her work?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, so you know how I came across it, how I learned about it. Yeah, so
And what are they? And if you could share what
oh,
they
of
are.
course, absolutely. Sorry, so I always make this assumption, but of course, so I in the end I came up with a fairly basic visual that I now share with my clients because A, I'm a very visual person, and B, I think sometimes it's lovely to have a little visual snapshot you can look at with the principles. But the first one, and I rank them in this order, I don't know if this is the correct order, but the first one is this concept of self-actualization. So, are we really living our life to our full potential? And that doesn't mean does everyone have to be living their life. It just means are we happy? I think that's my interpretation with where we're at in terms of our potential. And it
Mhm.
might be that for now, I'm happy being a 5 out of 10, and that's okay. It's not that we all have to be 10 out of 10. The other one that I then look at is meaning and values. So, fulfillment, this idea that we are living a life that's congruent with our values. And I think I love looking at words broken down. And if you look at the word dis-ease, it's disease. You know, people get sick. You know, I worked in a corporate environment where people were getting sick, stress at work, you know, you're always chasing deadlines, there's always budget. It's just the nature of the beast in corporate life. And people did get sick, you know, whether we know how to manage stress. And I think other people I look at, perhaps they're in a relationship you know, where it's not quite in line as we grow older, maybe the values change as well. So I think that's a really simple but impactful principle of Mieko's is this idea of are we actually living a life aligned with our meaning and values? The third one is about freedom. And I think she talked about this when she interviewed the leper colony of lepers in Japan, which is fascinating to me because everything else can be great on paper. But if you lose your freedom, what do you have? You know, freedom and health seem to be the kind of the bedrock really of our lives. The fourth one I think is probably the heart of Ikigai, which is this sense of belonging and community. And my understanding is that's what the colony, when she interviewed them, they said that was one of the things that was most important to them. And when they didn't have it or any of these other principles, they became stressors. You know, the absence of these things became stressors, and that's why people became stressed and unhappy. The fifth one is one of my personal favorites, change and growth. You know, I just love constantly learning and growing. And, you know, if I could do courses for the rest of my life, I would. But, you know, at some point we need to do something with this learning, right? So this idea, this modern phrase of, you know, being your best self, being the best version of yourself, I love that. And then the sixth one is this concept, which I love. It's so simple, is this concept of daily pleasures. You know, I'm a big dog fan. I don't yet have my dog, but I'll just go out and walk around the streets here in Kashkai and pet dogs and have a coffee. And it's those little things, you know, my clients will say it's the little things, having breakfast with their children in the morning. You
Mhm.
know, it really is those small daily pleasures that make life feel good,
Yes.
you know, and it's a thing that,
Mhm.
and then the last one is a bright future. You know, who doesn't want to feel optimistic about the future? We don't have to think that everything is perfect now. And some of my clients recognize that life is pretty full with kids and jobs and mortgages, sandwich generation, looking after elderly parents as well. But they recognize that their future will be bright or not. So I mean, I think the work she's done is just phenomenal, and it's this lovely framework that we can all live our lives by, you know?
Mhm. I just really appreciate you bringing up the Mieko's work because they she's called the mother of Ikigai. There's a lot of fathers, but how many mothers do we hear about? So someday, hopefully, there will be a translation of her work. And
I hope so, because I had to really root around, and thanks to Nick Kemp and his Ikigai podcast and to your work, I have been had my eyes opened about the work of Mieko Kamiya, but I had to really dig, and I came up with this visual myself, like on PowerPoint. You know, I was like, "Where's the visual?" When you Google or ChatGPT Ikigai, it's always the Venn diagram, which absolutely has a place. But wouldn't it be wonderful if, when you put into ChatGPT or Ikigai or Google or Claude in future, that Miyeko's framework
Yes.
comes in. And then people have a choice. I love the idea of choice. We don't have to force either down, but people should know about her work. She's awesome.
Mhm. She was awesome. Just especially when she talked about her work with the lepers was very
Yeah, yeah,
life changing.
yeah. And my understanding, and Laura, you'll know much more than about this than I do. My understanding is that she was one of the first proponents of, positive psychology in Japan as well. This idea of the basic needs. And I think with some of my clients and friends, when we talk about why are we stressed, she mentioned that in her research, doesn't I recall that she said in the absence of those seven principles, the absence of them leads to they become stressors. So when you have your seven buckets full, the stress levels go down, your cortisol goes down, your inflammation goes down, and of course the ripple effect that has on everyone. I know the work you do with leaders, of course, is going to have a positive impact on people around you, right?
That's right.
Just
It's really interesting. This is International Women's Month, and on my fun facts about Japan, it said that perhaps the Prime Minister of Japan, who is now as a woman, could be the
yes,
most powerful woman in the world, and it's amazing because she was a Margaret Thatcher uh, fan. She loved her,
right.
and she was a protege of Abe, who unfortunately passed away, but she's just going out there and putting this Japan first policy into place, which I think is good. I just don't like to see the Japanese culture and the country, shall we say, mishandled or taken advantage of. They have so many beautiful cultural things, like you don't talk on the phone when you're in public, you don't eat in public, you don't
Mm,
trash, you take care of everything, and they teach that from a very young age when they have the children be the janitors, so they're not going to trash their school. So there's so much that we can learn. They're not perfect, and neither is
no,
anyone, but I think that they have a lot of really really good ideas for mankind, and especially for children, the way that their schools just operate. They're so smooth. I actually got to visit one, and it's amazing. And when you watch them walk down the street, they are all in a line, and the younger kids are holding hands so that no one gets lost. So it's just a wonderful thing to see. I love the
love it.
Japanese culture. It really is. And Japan is my happy place. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I want to share
Yeah.
about the principles. And I am Japanese also. So
Yes, I understand. Third generation samurai sensei. So how wonderful, and just learning, introducing us all to these concepts of, the Gambaru and the other principles of the samurai. I can tell you, everyone that lived in Singapore, you asked them their favorite country, Japan. And if I had to name out of what 50 countries I've been around, Japan, every single time. There is something deeply mystical and magical and amazing and crazy about it. And I know so little, but every time I go there and read something about it or listen to one of your podcasts or Nick's podcast, I come away with a little bit of understanding about
oh, well,
the,
thank
the
you.
culture there.
And that's my
Yeah.
intent, is to share the Japanese culture, because for many years I was a baby boomer and teased and bullied and did not want to be Japanese. I didn't enjoy that. I just wanted to put that aside. But
Mm.
then after '05 and '07, I was rear-ended, and I started delving into my own background. I go, wow, this is amazing. I learned about the samurai, and then I saw our crest, which actually is a samurai from the samurai lineage. So now I embrace my
Ah,
culture now.
wonderful, wonderful. And look how fantastic on so many levels that you're doing that and raising awareness around all these Japanese cultural aspects and philosophies as well. And also, we think now with the world, there's a lot of, I don't even, there's probably not even a word for it, but everything can feel quite generic when you go
Mhm.
to one city versus another. It's the same buildings and the same coffee shops and the same like, and you want to all speak English and it's lovely that there are places you can go that feel completely foreign, where you feel like you're immersed in this completely new culture, and that's wonderful. Like we have to travel much further now, don't we, to experience
Yes.
very unique cultural aspects. And I think Japan is one of the few countries where it has this wealth of just, oh my gosh, I had no idea moments, it's so thank you for sharing a light, shedding a light on it.
Well, thank you. I wonder if it's partially because it's an island country, four main
Yeah,
islands, and
yeah.
there's only 80% of the country is mountainous. And so they live in just this tiny segment of the land, and they had to learn how to get along, have a culture where
Yeah.
you did have to get along with others. And when you see how they live, like Tokyo, 33 million people, and how everything is so much, when you go to the station, nobody's rushing around and pushing and shoving, except maybe during the rush hour. But it's so people line up, people are so civil, and I get so happy when I'm there, and I look forward to going again. I just
Oh, I mean, just that memory you mentioned about the trains, being on the trains in Japan when my husband and I went there last, and you as the train goes out of the station, the guards bow, and
Yes,
it's I tell you as a tourist, that makes a big impact. You really feel the courtesy and the appreciation, and it's really appreciated as a tourist, I can tell you, because
it
it's quite
is.
unique.
How long were you able to spend in Japan?
Oh, not long enough. I was looking
Oh,
at some old
nothing.
photos the other day. You get these photos that pop up, and I'm a big hiker. I love to hike. I love this concept of forest bathing. It often comes up in client conversations about where's your happy place, the daily pleasures. And for so many of us, it's the walking in the forest. And we went sort of north of, went to Kyoto, north of Kyoto, and obviously it's Tokyo. We went down to the peninsula. I'm not going to remember the name, southwest of Kyoto, where the pilgrimage. We did the old
Oh, okay.
pilgrimage and went to visit some of the shrines there and did some day-long hikes and didn't see anybody actually. We really were quite off the beaten track, and it was quite something to go and visit these shrines in the middle of these sort of ancient forests and know that you were on that path, the ancient paths, the pilgrimage paths. And it's, I now I'm back this side of the world. I feel like Japan's a little bit further away, but we'll definitely be going back. I mean, every time you go there, you learn just a little bit more, and there's so much to learn, isn't there?
Hmm. Was it on the island of Shikoku? That would be
I
kind of.
didn't make it there.
Oh,
That
you
was
did
on
one.
the
Okay,
potential.
there are
Didn't make it
places to
there.
go for pilgrimages.
I will
On
remember the
culture.
name afterwards. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
they have. I think it's like 88 different stations on Shikoku. And that's where my husband and I have been there several times. And my father's side, the paternal side of my family, is from the island of Shikoku. So we've traveled there, and I love it. It's very much different than Honshu because it's more relaxed, and even the rice is different. They usually add a little bit of fish to their rice dishes. So
Mm.
it's very
Ah,
laid back. It's it's wonderful, but every place in Japan, no matter where you go, it's like it's like everywhere you'll see something new and you'll experience something new. And speaking of Japan,
yeah.
for all of you that are listening, I am going to have a tour in October of this year, 2026. And we will be going to the Jidai Matsuri, which I've talked about many, many times. There's over 2,000 people dressed in period attire that you get to watch this procession. I don't
Wow.
call it a parade, it is a procession, very very subdued, and you will see history just going by before you for 2 to 2.5 hours, and we will be getting tickets for this. So I highly recommend that you
Wow.
connect with me if Japan's on your bucket list. I usually don't do this, but it seems appropriate that it's going to be a wonderful tour, and only 10 people, that's the max that we can take, because I'm not have a hiring assistant. It's going to be me, and a few days we're going to be going with professional guides. So it's wonderful. I've been there many, many times, and I just love Japan, love sharing it with other people. So that's for my infomercial. I just wanted to share that because we're just getting the itinerary solidified, and it's going to be out there very soon. So please be sure to watch for that. And Ellie, it's been so wonderful to have you. I feel like even though we've only been speaking a little bit, I feel like I've found a new friend and somebody that loves Japan, loves Ikigai, especially the Ikigai, the correct, I call it the Japanese way. We'll say it's the Japanese way. The Venn diagram is more the Western version. And I was listening to that and kind of studying that, but then I always felt I'm missing more of the Japanese piece. So and that's when I found the Ikigai tribe with Nick and learned about Mieko and all these other wonderful people and what Ikigai is truly about. So please be sure to listen to this broadcast and you may share it. I'd love for you to share it, especially this being International Women's Month and about Mieko and about her work, because it's so important to learn about people, especially people that have made an impact, but she hasn't doesn't have much well, what's the word? She doesn't have a lot of material out there about her. There's a book, but it has not been translated. So hopefully someday it will, and we'll all learn more about Mieko. And in doing this podcast, we're getting towards the end. And Ellie, I would love for you to share with anybody some final thoughts, your big ideas, your big goal, anything that you would like to share at this time.
Oh, and thank you, Laurie. And it really has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, hearing about the work you're doing. Just it's given me that little kid of I've got to get back to Japan. I've only just arrived in Europe, and now I'm thinking, how can I be on your trip in October?
Even
I would
next year.
just yeah, so what's next one? I would say to anyone to anyone, but especially somebody that might be going through a big kind of midlife transition. Maybe you've arrived in a new country, perhaps your children leaving home, maybe you've been made redundant, or you're rewiring. I like to think of rewiring, not retiring, because we are going to be around for hopefully if health is good for a long while and we want to be doing something meaningful. I would just encourage everyone to just pause and just think about what really lights them up and using Mieko Kamiya's framework as a starting point. It's really simple. I work on my snapshot with my clients. It's just 7 questions. It's literally which of these buckets feel full, which of these feel a little bit undernourished or a little bit empty. And then once you have that clarity, it's like, actually, what I need is more connection. Or maybe what I need is a little bit more optimism about the future. And it's so accessible, isn't it? It really is so accessible. So I would just encourage anyone to just pause. We live life at a very, very fast pace these days. It's 24/7 on. We can learn a lot about this concept of going into the forest and forest bathing and just pausing to think about what really truly fills your cup and what gives you joy. And once you know what gives you joy, then you can live a more intentional life moving forward. And I'm a half glass full kind of gal, Laurie. I do believe that we all deserve to live a life of joy, no matter how busy and full our lives are. So yeah, pause, reflect, gain a bit more clarity.
I love that. Pause, reflect, and get clarity. So thank you so much, Ellie. It's been a pleasure, more than a pleasure, to be speaking with you. I feel like we're good friends. We're having this conversation, and now we get to share it with the world. This podcast is um, how do I say it? It's gaining momentum. I'll just put it that way because I think people are really curious about the Japanese way and learning about the samurai way. They were great warriors, but they had that moral framework of courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. And when they've used that as a framework, they went into so many other things like tea ceremony, and they were writers and the poets, and they were amazing individuals. I don't know why it's mute. Okay. And they were amazing individuals. I just have so much respect for them. And I hope that you will like, subscribe, and share this information because with following this Kodo Bushido, Ikigai, Gambaru, this world can be a better place. I believe that. And my hope for you is that you will glean information that will help your life and make your life better. And perhaps share it with others. So thank you so much for being here. Your presence and your sharing is making a difference. And I'm really excited. I'm very thankful for all of you listeners. So let's connect and please share, like, and subscribe. So that's it for now. I'll say mata ne, goodbye.
Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's Ikigai guiding your path or a little extra gambaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got some thoughts, questions, or you just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.